Next episode, next story. Let's do this. So today we are going to be doing a special video. This is for the review of the DanDaDan film Evil Eye. It is out in theaters and I saw it this week at AMC. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and do it while it's still in theaters. This is going to be just a blind review because I have not watched the anime yet. So I actually have nothing to base this off except the movie itself. Just a brief introduction to the series. DanDaDan is written by Yukinobu Tatsu, and it has been serialized in Shonen Jump since April of 2021. The first season of DanDaDan, the anime, aired from October to December of 2024. The second season is set to premiere in July. The Evil Eye film was released in North America on June 6th. So, a brief synopsis: DanDaDan follows a young Momo and her friend Okarun who investigate supernatural sights and sightings and occurrences. And along the way, they actually awaken powers that they have themselves. So the film Evil Eye actually picks up at the end of season 1. Now, one thing I will say is that there was a good recap. So the movie actually started with just like a brief recap of everything that led up until the point of the pair, Momo and Okarun, plus their friend Gigi going to hot springs. So we get a little bit of a recap and then we get into the story. But the movie does take place between season 1 and season 2. So essentially, Gigi believes that there's some type of curse or spirit or force that's hanging over the house that he was raised in. So the trio go to the house to investigate and they run into the Kaido family. And then that's where things start to take a very interesting turn. I am not going to spoil the film, but that is essentially what it's about. They go to this house to investigate and then things start happening. So as you know, I don't do movie reviews the same as I do show reviews. I just kind of, talk about the movie and go ahead and give my rating. This movie, I'm actually going to give a 9 out of 10. I thought it was very good. And I love when I see an anime movie that inspires me to watch the anime if I haven't already seen it. So like I said, I have not seen DanDaDan and the film was the only thing that I knew about. So, now I'm going to watch the show. So for the actual showing of the movie, there is a little treat at the beginning and the end. They do director interviews. So we have a little bit of that before the movie starts. Well, there's a more full segment at the end. So if that's something that you're interested in hearing from the directors, then I would stay for that. It was definitely informative. Like I said, the movie did start with season 1 highlights, which I thought was good because, I had not seen the show. So that kind of gave me what I needed to know. But of course, it wasn't everything. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to go back and watch season 1 for sure. Okarun is the male character and he is definitely an underdog MC. And he reminds me of one of my favorite main characters because he does yell a lot. But it's cute because we're always rooting for an underdog. At least I am. Momo has a very interesting power. With her power, she can actually reach out and touch and grab things, which I actually have done research on the show despite not watching it. I have done research on the show. So I did know kind of what was going on coming in. And her power is definitely very cool. The recap narration was hilarious. And along with that, I thought that the recap seamlessly blended into the actual movies. It went from us being told like what happened previously, and then it went right into the story. But it was so seamless and it was done so well. So I very, very much like that. One thing I want to highlight for sure is that this show, as well as the movie, is a good mix of creepy and funny. There were definitely some things that I saw that just kind of made my hair stand up a little bit or like give me goosebumps. Not scary, but just creepy. It was like a little bit eerie and just kind of like, ooh, but it wasn't, terrifying. But being able to mix that with comedy, I think is pretty well done. The main antagonist of this film is the Kaido family. And again, we learn why they're the antagonists. We kind of figure out what they have going on in the story, and I think that it was a good matchup because a lot of times I feel like in anime films there's, you know, just like a super powerful person and, you know, somebody that's off the charts, but I felt like this was a good matchup in the sense of their motives as well as the actual power that they had. And then we realized that they probably weren't as bright as, you know, they thought that they were. So something else I want to comment on is flashbacks. Flashbacks are used a lot in animes, films, shows, whatever. But I feel like the flashbacks in the film were done very well to give information that you needed for the plot, and then it didn't overpower or take away. I think that they were smartly used, and that's pretty cool because a lot of times flashbacks can work against a story, in my opinion, but in this film it worked for it. The final and major thing that I want to say about this film, having not seen season 1, so having limited knowledge about the show, seeing the show and watching the build up to Okarun's power and like seeing what he does was phenomenal. That is something that I would pay money to see again for the first time. I think that that was beautifully done, very beautifully done, especially if you're somebody like me who was watching the film and never seen the show. That took my breath away. So that was very amazingly done. Another thing is that there was a scene inside of a cursed house, and that was intense. That was one of the more intense scenes. I liked the conclusion of it, but it was definitely a good little ride for a second. But all in all, I definitely recommend this film. I definitely recommend the show. So if you have not seen it, go ahead and check that out in theaters. It was playing in the AMC near me. If you have an AMC, I'm sure it's playing there as well. But definitely go ahead and get caught up. Season 2 will be airing next month. So see the first season, watch the film, and then you'll be ready to go. When one arc ends, another one begins. See you next time.